So Japanese flea markets. I get many questions about Japanese flea markets, on what days are they held on, where can I find them, what should I look for, and are there any tips about, sourcing items or strategies of while you're at the flea market. Now, that might sound like unnecessary in regards to strategies, but trust me on this. I have, over the last 4 or 5 years, been able to build up strategies at flea markets which have secured me some really amazing finds, just because I have put in a few extra details compared to other people. And for example, I've attended flea markets where people have come along with me and they've gone by themselves, and they said they're cool and they're okay, and they've looked around and they've done their stuff, and then I've done my stuff, and then at the end we've met up and we've had lunch, and then we've looked at the same stalls, but I've got a pile of stuff on the table and they don't. And they're like, well, I didn't even know that they had any Yu-Gi-Oh there. I didn't even know that they had any One Piece there. And yeah, so let me just share with you some pearls of wisdom. And this is going to be part 1. And part 2, I'm going to be looking at some apps in Japan where you can source down in Japanese flea markets, but I will explain to you how to use that app, the main app that I use. And it won't give you everything if you can't read Japanese, but it will at least give you the date, the location, and the size of the flea market. And I'll show you how to navigate that. But anyway, going off beat on that, let me come back on track. And let's say, right, so Japanese flea markets. Now, like I just mentioned, there is an app. I search, and generally there are around about 7 or 8 flea markets going on in Japan on a Saturday, and about, give or take, depending on the time of year, anything between 15 and 50 flea markets going on a Sunday. Occasionally there are flea markets on bank holidays. Sometimes there's a lot, sometimes there's a few. And very occasionally you will find a shopping mall, a shopping street, which can be closed off to traffic, which will have a flea market which is happening on a weekday, just a general weekday. I only know of 2 in Tokyo, and they're more kind of food store orientated, but they do have a few kind of like just general vendors who turn up with this and that. And sometimes I found old promo cards and stuff like that, but generally it's nothing on the weekdays. So like I said, I travel to a few. I have a few which are sort of like I might gatekeep a little bit in this video, and maybe share everything in part 2, but the bigger ones I go to, which are the famous one, or one of them is famous, one of them not so much, especially with Westerners. The big one is Oi Racecourse, or Oi Keibajo, as we say, which is just 2 stops down from Shinagawa train station. And they have, it started off about 350 stalls, now it's up to 500 stalls. Now, another good one to go to is Nagano Broadway. Now, for people who are, up to date on the collecting hobbies and stuff and what's available in shops in Tokyo, you'll see many videos talking about Nagano Broadway as a shopping complex which has a lot of like figures and collectibles in the building. I would say generally it's a little bit more expensive than everywhere else. It's a little bit more of a tourist trap, I would say, but sometimes you can find something interesting there. But just on the other side of the train station, it's actually on the same side of the train station as Nagano Broadway Shopping Center, but it's the station's here and it's across the road, and it's just behind the big office building. On a Saturday and a Sunday, I believe twice a month, they have a 150 stall flea market. Now this flea market is for people who bring suitcases and so on and so forth. So generally the people there only have with them around about, let's say, enough to put out in 1 or 2 goes on their store. They can display everything once they're set up. So you can go around, you can look, and people turn up at different times. So I reckon if you go around once, take a break, sit down, have a coffee, come back, have another look, and then go around and have another look from the other direction, I reckon you can cover it quite easily. But it's a nice one. I do find that Japanese families turn up there, so compared to just people who go to flea markets all the time and have a booth or a stall, so it's more kind of like random stuff. So sometimes you might get someone who's bringing their children's Pokemon cards, but they might be bringing theirs as well, so they have some older stuff. Sometimes that can happen. There's a lot of figures there, and you get some cheap prices. For example, the world's 2023 Yokohama sleeves, there were 3 different sleeve variations, and there was a guy there selling about 6 of each type, and he was only charging 500 yen a pack. And I checked it in great detail, and it was legit. And he just said he just bought too much stuff and he's just getting rid of it. They're selling for about 2,000 or 3,000 yen, so that's and overseas even more. So there are some good things to be found. Now let's go back to Oi Keibajo, or Oi Racecourse. Now they have 500 stalls. Now I highly recommend going there at 8 a.m. or 7:45 a.m. as people are setting up. Go around, walk around, all the way around. It'll take you about 25 minutes because people are still setting up. There's not much going on. You might find something interesting. Then, as they're setting up, you can just keep walking around. Go around 2 or 3 times. That'll take you 2 hours. Then leave at around about 10 a.m. 9:40 a.m. 9:45 a.m. Go across the road. Go to the department store. They open the doors. You go upstairs. You wait until 10 a.m. You go to the cheap Italian restaurant for breakfast and lunch. You sit there. You can have the drink bar. You can have 3 different things to eat for about 1,000 yen. Pizza or pasta. It's like super cheap, and it's not bad. It's not bad at all. It gets packed out by 11. You won't get a seat. But you go there at 10 as they open. You sit there for 45 minutes. Then you come back and you go around again. You start from the newest people, not the oldest people. So the furthest away, you start from that end and then go around again. Now the reason you keep going around this flea market is everybody turns up by car. 99% of the people there come by car. Now they put their stuff out, but they don't put all of it out. They only put half of their stuff out, and then half of a bit more and a bit more and a bit more. So you might go around the first 2 times and find nothing, and then you go around like an hour later, and dude, the same person's got a box of Pokemon cards from the 1997, and they're charging 20 cents a card or something. Only caveat to all of this is Oi Keibajo, Oi Flea Market. There are a number of people who have booths there and are really weekly sellers. And I know in great detail there are many categories of these sellers. There are people who go and collect rubbish from people's houses where somebody's died or somebody's moving, and they'll take a small truck and they'll pick up everything and they'll take it to the flea market. They'll be there every week and they'll sell everything off, like, just you bring it to them and they tell you what the price is, but it's generally dirt cheap. And then at the end, by 11 o'clock, whatever's left, they just say everything's free, just take what you want, and they just get rid of it because they charge the people to take the stuff away from their house in the first place, so everything else is cream for them. Now the second category of people are people who've got some line into that, but they've also got their own stuff that they've picked up, and they've got a kind of like a semi kind of stall, garbage stall. And then it depends who they are and how you've worked with them before, bought stuff from them before or whatever, is how they'll treat you. And then you've got the third level, is where somebody's basically got a stall and they're a collector or something like that, and they got their stuff priced out generally, and it's cheaper than eBay, but not much more. And then you got the last category of people who just go there and they price stuff out into space, and I don't even look at this, so I just ask in one time, and then I know that there's no point in even talking to them. I would say out of 500 stores, there's only about 6 of those people. So the strategy for that flea market is definitely go round early, go round, take an hour out, come back, go round, and go round again. And also, if you see something that, for example, I bought 6,000 baseball cards. There was like 40 boxes of baseball cards. It's like over 20 kilos, and they wanted 500 yen a box. And I was like, and I think I bought one box for 500, something that I knew was really good. And then I came back 2 hours later, they still hadn't sold what they had. They sold bits and pieces, but not much. And they had a sign which was 300 yen a box, or I think it was just under 2,000 yen to take the lot. And I don't think they expected anyone to take the lot, but also it's getting to the end. They don't want to carry it back. They want to get rid of it, right? So I took the lot. I carried it back in 2 IKEA bags and, 2 Costco bags that they had. And I loaded myself up on like a donkey on both sides, and I carried that back on the train, man, with all the other stuff that I bought. And that was an amazing buy. I found some amazing stuff in that after I sorted it out. So flea markets, those are 2 big ones. And then there are smaller ones as well, which you can find on the app, which I'll mention in part 2 of this video. But the other thing I would say is, when you're looking at a card, when you go to the booth and you see something, ask them, how much is it for one card? If they have a lot of stuff. If there's, I found that works really well, rather than picking everything up and then saying, how much is this? Because especially if you're non-Japanese, they will charge you more. Generally, even for me, they don't know I speak Japanese, or they don't think I speak Japanese very well. So at the beginning, they might ask me a little bit too high a price. But I found strategies to kind of get around that. One is I will ask, how much for everything? If I see it looks really good, how much for everything? And they'll say something 5,000 yen, for example. But then I know there's only 6 cards that I want. So I take the 6 cards out, and then I say, well, that was 5,000 yen for 200 cards. So what? These are like, what? 5 yen, 10 yen, or yeah. And so you kind of need to gauge at what you're looking at, but then you also need to have your kind of like 1 or 2 go-to lines of how to sort of like get the best price for those products. Most people, you'll be able to see if they're just selling stuff from their bedroom and they're trying to get rid of it, or they picked it up from a house closing lot and they're just trying to get rid of the stuff. They don't want to take it back with them at the end. They've already been paid for it to pick it up from some house or something like that. And then the other people, like I've mentioned before, levels of collectors or levels of people who want to get the best price or something. So they definitely look at what you're looking at. Don't just go in and just say, well, how much is this? And then they tell you some price and then you just go for it. People say you don't barter in Japan, but the flea market you barter, for sure, 100%, no mistake whatsoever. Some people tell you outright no. They might give you a fair price and you try to barter on it, and then they really might not be happy about it. So that's where I can read that, because I can speak Japanese. Someone might say, how much is this? And they'll say it's 100 yen, and they know it's like a 500-600 yen card or something like that, but they're buying a few other bits and bobs to let you off. But then you try and barter on it, and then they won't be happy, and then you go back again and they won't want to deal with you. But generally, if you're buying sort of like more than 3 or 4 items or something, you can barter the hell out of it at a flea market, no problem at all. As long as you're polite and smile and don't be pushy at all, you'll get a long way with that. So that would be some of my recommendations for flea markets. And also, obviously, take a couple of big bags with you, and also cash, small cash, nothing bigger than 1,000 yen note. So break a 10,000 yen note into 9,000 yen and coins, and then whatever you buy, whoever you buy from, you can. I've had occasions where I've said something really, really good, and I couldn't buy it, and they wouldn't hold the item, even I spoke Japanese. Went back to the convenience store to get some change, and came back and it gone. So don't make that mistake. Make sure you have small change with you and small notes. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward, other than how to source such flea markets and locations, and like I said, I'll do that in a short part 2 video as well. So thank you for watching, and good luck to everybody at the flea markets. And I would love to hear on my Instagram or on YouTube what you guys found, and if any of this helped you out. So thank you very much, and bye from Tokyo.